There has been many directors to take on the mantle of creating the Batman on live screen, from Tim Burton to Christopher Nolan. But there is one director that has taken the Batman franchise, shoved it so far into a blender, blended it all up, ate that essence, took a shit on Batman. There is two movies he created. One does not exist, and two, Batman Forever.
So the movie starts with the WB logo turning into the bat symbol. We then get random swooping text followed by close-ups and unnecessary close-ups on Batman, all leading up to the first corny joke of the movie.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
We then meet the first villain of the movie, Two-Face, played by Tommy Lee Jones. I personally think that Tommy was trying to play off Jim and be more comedic than Jim, even though technically neither one of their characters was supposed to be comedic if you go by the comics. But if you go by this piece of shit movie, you understand. Well, we see that Two-Face has basically taken that security guard, locked him up in a safe, and is awaiting for the bats to save him. And now we meet this movie's love interest, because every Batman has to have a different love interest, Chase Meridian, and entering via crappy green screen, we get the hero of the movie.
The second bank of Gotham on the
Second anniversary of the day I captured him.
How could Two-Face resist?
What a surprise! Jokes about the number 2.
We then get our first fight, which involves Two-Face's goons shooting at a door instead of waiting till Batman shows up. Batman then proceeds to kick all of their asses one by one.
Can I get one of those things?
Batman eventually beats up all the goons, and then he goes to save the guard.
So let me guess.
It's a trap! That's the men we are today! No!
Hold on.
Yes! Oh!
Next thing you're gonna tell me he's gonna save someone's life with the fucking hearing aid.
What the fuck kind of bullshit is that? Like, seriously, I understand you could hear better with a hearing aid, but I personally do not think you could actually do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's possible. Anyway, he saves the guard, puts the safe back, and then starts a helicopter chase for Two-Face. After Two-Face has his goon fly their helicopter into an eyeball, Two-Face believes that Batman is actually dead, which we all know would make this movie a lot shorter. So, no, he tricks them by disappearing and throwing his cape over the helicopter. Batman eventually takes down Two-Face's goons. He messes up the helicopter and forces them to crash into the Statue of Liberty. What a way for a beginning to a movie. A really horrible CGI version of Gotham, and we then meet our second villain. But he's not actually a villain yet, but he is in his civilian way before he actually becomes a villain. Enter Edward Nygma. This man, I don't know if it's Jim Carrey acting or if it's just the way this character was written for this movie, but this character is like beyond creepy with his obsession of Bruce Wayne. It's like he wants to do everything for Bruce Wayne and is like a little sick puppy dog. But he tries to convince Bruce Wayne to fund his project of manipulating brainwaves.
Full partners in this, Bruce. Look at us. Two of a kind.
Dude, you need to get laid.
We then get a scene where Chase Meridian has used a bat signal for her own personal sexual fantasies just so she could call Batman and try to seduce him.
I swear, Batman goes through more girls than a freaking pimp.
That is until Commissioner Gordon decides to join the party.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Fuck you, you cockblock.
Sorry, I gotta go do hero stuff. But I want your penis. Nope, sorry, bye-bye. We then go back to Wayne Tower, where Nygma has clearly been staying up all night to work on his project, when his boss Fred comes in and basically tells him to go home and not to come back. So what does Nygma do? Anything that a normal psychotic person would do. He knocks his boss out.
You touched that switch.
When he wakes up, he's been put into this brain drain thing, and we get about a 3-minute rant from Jim Carrey about what the brain drain actually does.
I'm smarter. I'm a genius. No, several geniuses. A gaggle, a swarm, a flock of freaking Freuds. Riddle me this, Fred.
Fuck yeah, he said the Riddler line.
The scene ends with Nygma killing his boss. Now, don't you wish you could do that?
Fred! Babe! You are fired! Or should I say, terminated? Surf's up, big kahuna!
Movie goes back to Bruce Wayne, but he's watching the Two-Face origin.
Harvey Dent, once Gotham's district attorney, was horribly scarred by underworld kingpin Boss Maroni. Although Batman tried to save him, Dent's left brain damage transformed him into a violent criminal.
Even in the comic books, it was Falcone that threw the acid on him and not Maroni.
Yep, definitely suicide.
Bruce Wayne is then called back to Wayne Tower in order to figure out how Fred died, which he quickly concludes was not a suicide. He then gets the first Riddler riddle.
If you look at the numbers on...
After a pointless montage from the Riddler of putting the second riddle together, Bruce Wayne literally breaks down the door of Chase's house. I personally believe this scene was pointless because it was clear that Bruce Wayne already knew the answers to the riddles, but at the same time, it was clearly just a way for Bruce to get his bats inside of Chase's belfry.
Do you need one?
But this whole scene was Chase just trying to analyze and completely
You're not exactly
get
what
to
you seem,
know
are
the
you,
real
Bruce?
Bruce Wayne.
Thank you for that obvious conclusion.
You look so sad. Do you need one?
Me? No. Why would I?
You're not exactly what you seem, are you, Bruce Wayne? What is it you really came here for?
Bruce eventually asks her to go to the circus with her, so now we get to go and meet our next character of the movie, Dick Grayson.
Richard, the youngest, Flying Grayson.
Dick. His name means penis.
After a complete and total failed hookup because Chase clearly loves Batman over Bruce, instead of Bruce just coming out and say, "Hey, I'm Batman, love both of us." Anyway, a successful death drop by Robin, Two-Face decides to take over. He plants bombs everywhere. He gets a giant bomb that's got 2 minutes to destroy. Yay, more 2 jokes. And the Graysons end up trying to save the day by climbing all the banisters. which of course ends up leading to most of their deaths.
Well, that didn't take long for someone to become an orphan.
Seeing as he has nowhere to go, Dick eventually gets basically adopted, even though I don't know how you can adopt an adult. But Dick basically becomes adopted by Bruce, and they bond over bicycles. They try to get into each other's heads and stuff like that, getting to know each other, Dick being a dick. We then get the next scene, which, of course, is a flashback. Why? Because no Batman movie is complete without the flashback of how Bruce Wayne became Batman. While Bruce is grieving, Alfred helps Dick get settled in, and we get a bunch of cliche pre-hero lines. The movie then decides to completely waste our time by giving a completely pointless Two-Face ambush scene, where most of this scene was used in the trailer just to promote the movie. And after that completely pointless scene, we get a Riddler montage of him trying to figure out what he's gonna call himself. So then the Riddler decides to show up at Two-Face's place, tell him of his plan, which is to take a box and put it on every television in Gotham, and Two-Face goes for it.
Here's a good one.
No. There is a good one.
We then go back to Bruce Wayne, who has gotten the third riddle from Nygma that revolves around chess pods. And then we get a small TV-like rendition of how many people have really bought the box. And back at Wayne Manor, Dick Grayson finds the Batcave. I swear that Batcave is easier to find than a porno at a sperm bank. We once again go back to Bruce and Chase talking about their inner selves.
What crime could he have committed?
I can't be jealous of Batman.
'Cause I'm Batman.
And thankfully that boring scene ends with... And thankfully that boring scene ends with... And thankfully that boring scene ends with Bruce getting interrupted by Alfred saying that Dick has stolen the Batmobile.
That's not Batman.
Dick then poses as Batman, clearly failing in the process, and eventually saves a girl for a bunch of clown-like thugs that try too hard to look like a cross between a skull and a Joker.
Come on, run!
Wait, doesn't Batman ever kiss the girl?
Actually, yes, he does. All the time. He can't keep one, but he gets the girl.
The real Batman eventually helps. The real Batman eventually shows up and basically saves the day while Dick continuously tries to beat the crap out of him. They go back to the Batcave and they get into a argument about whether or not Dick can be Batman's partner.
But your pain doesn't die with Harvey.
If we're the same, Bruce, help me. All right, train me. Let me be your partner.
No. I can't.
Actually, all comics would beg to differ with that one.
Deciding to go to the Nygma Tech Ball, Bruce Wayne runs into Nygma. Nygma then proceeds to copy exactly everything that Bruce is doing, eventually steals Bruce's memory with the box, and the thing is eventually crashed by Two-Face.
Your entrance was good, his was better.
Eventually, the fight leads them into like this sort of underground gas area, where again Two-Face tries to kill the Bat and almost succeeds if it isn't for one thing. Bruce and Dick once again have another argument over Dick wanting to help and taking down Two-Face. But again, Batman only works alone, even though every comic says otherwise. Another meeting with Chase ends up with Chase admitting that she no longer has feelings for Batman, but only has feelings for Bruce Wayne. So score 1 for relationship flip-flopping.
The winner of the world's creepiest smile goes to...
Back at Two-Face headquarters, Batman's identity is found out.
I swear, Batman's identity is harder to keep than a disease from a prostitute.
Back in Wayne Manor, Batman has decided to give up being Batman, and we are given more flashbacks during a dinner with Chase. Eventually, the villains break into the manor. They knock out Alfred, they blow up the Batcave, and they shoot Bruce in the process, kidnapping Chase Meridian. When Bruce comes to, he solves all the riddles, decides that Batman has to come back out of that short vacation, and as he decides to leave, Dick and him finally decide to become partners.
It's so wonderful. They're finally partners.
As the dynamic duo race to get to the As the dynamic duo race to save the day, Two-Face and Riddler decide to turn their area into a giant battleship area. I personally think this is an awesome thing. Eventually, Robin's Batboat gets targeted by one of the mines in the sea and explodes.
That's kind of pathetic that Robin already needs saving.
Holy rusted metal, Batman! Huh? Holy rusted metal, Batman! Huh?
Really? You gotta pull a 1960s Batman joke? You just couldn't wait to do that, could you? You just had to do that, didn't you, Joel? Didn't you? Didn't you? Didn't you?
As Riddler's island basically separates the dynamic duo, Batman goes into one room and nearly escapes death by outsmarting the building, and Robin goes head-to-head with Two-Face, saving his life only because he's the good guy and he can't let a bad guy die. Get to the climax of this movie, which involves the Riddler setting up Chase and Robin in two separate tubes that all lead down to death. Batman only has time to save one, so what does Batman do? He tells a good riddle that involves himself, He takes out the lighting system as well as the box. And voila, he's Batman and saves both people. Now, one thing I do want to say, now there's one thing I do want to mention, and that's personally my thought is that this specific type of situation, villain-wise, would not be something that the Riddler would do. In my personal opinion, it's more something that Two-Face would do, having to do one or more choices and only being able to do one. Now, of course, it's Batman, so he's going to be able to do two. So, either way, Batman wins, but that's just my opinion.
A good friend.
Eventually, Two-Face has to be taken down, so of course he shows up at the nick of time while the heroes are celebrating or whatever, and gets tricked by Batman throwing coins in the air. So, ironically, the end of the movie ends with them going to Arkham Asylum, and we get a glimpse of what sanity Edward Nygma really does have left. And we end the movie with yet another conversation between Chase and Bruce. A cliche end of movie kiss, as well as Batman and Robin running towards the screen and everything going black.
There you have it. Batman Forever. I personally think that they could have made this movie a lot better if they did not go for a child's point of view movie. They made it too campy, and I personally feel that they should have kept going with Tim Burton's dark feel, maybe lighten it up a little bit, but no, they had to go to the complete and total opposite of what Tim Burton had created and turn it into something that my kid wouldn't even watch while I sat and watched the movie review. That's sad. I'm your superhero critic. I stay super, so you stay awesome.